Mwasibire muta, mwasibye mutya, amahoro, agandi, byaibo, habari gani, muraho, sangonini, kopango, odeo. For those of you who are wondering what that was, these are some of the various local greetings found in East Africa's diverse languages. Welcome to SheCentre, the female podcast, where I dive into the issues and experiences that affect women everywhere. I am your host, Resti Kansime, and I am passionate about creating a safe space for women to share their stories and triumphs. I want to thank you for tuning into my podcast, and I would love for you to join our community and stay connected with us beyond this episode. You can find us on Instagram at _SheCentre_podcast and follow us on Facebook at the SheCentre Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast and hit that follow and like button on our social media to be part of the conversation. Hey there, how are you? Welcome back to yet another empowering episode of SheCentre, the female podcast, where women's stories matter. I am really enjoying speaking to various women from different cultures and different backgrounds, different ages. It's truly amazing. And I know that I say that most of the people who I'll be speaking to will be coming from East Africa, but I am really loving the guests that I get to speak to from other countries that are not in East Africa, because I do feel like East Africans have a lot in common. And in many cases, when we hear that someone is living in Europe or the West or something like that, we usually feel like, those guys do not understand the struggle. But we are getting to learn that our stories can be universal, and that the struggles are everywhere, whether someone is living in Europe or someone is living in, I don't know, in Mars. Yeah, it turns out that as women, our struggles are universal, and adversity can find you anywhere, and that we can learn from each other, glean from each other's experiences. So welcome back. A special hey and hello to our new listeners. If you are new, thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining this community. Please drop by, listen to other episodes that are from amazing women, and I am truly sure that you are going to be inspired and blessed as I was, because I think this is like my 31st episode or something like that. I don't remember. Yes, but I do know that this is going to really inspire you. So anyways, I am very happy to bring you a very special guest today. She is my mentor. She is my sister in Christ. Way older than me, but my sister in Christ. I love her so much. I met her in 2020. We have mostly been meeting virtually. One time she invited my husband and I to her home, and she is an amazing woman. I'll just give you a short intro about her. The honor of speaking to Mary Baubeng, a remarkable woman whose journey from Ghana to Germany is filled with resilience, faith, and triumph. Mary's story begins in Ghana, where she faced a challenging childhood marked by mistreatment and adversity. Despite these early struggles, she excelled in her education and later moved to Germany with her husband, seeking a better life and opportunities for her family. Her journey was far from easy, as she encountered significant hurdles, including racism in the early 90s and the isolation of raising her children alone after a very painful divorce. In this episode, Mary opens up about the sacrifices she made for her children, the strength she found in her faith, and the nickname Lion Mother she earned for her unwavering determination to protect and provide for her family. We'll also hear about Mary's entrepreneurial spirit, how she started and continues to run a successful catering business driven by her passion for food. Even while she is in retirement, she's managing to cook amazing food. I can attest to this. I have tested Mary's food. I have eaten her chili, that is pepe, I guess. And wow, it is really tasty. She has a gift from God for that. And we'll also learn about her personal healing journey, the new love she found, and the fulfilling life she enjoys today with her husband. Mary's story is a testament to the power of perseverance, faith, and the unbreakable bond of family. Join us as we delve into her inspiring journey and discover the lessons she has learned along the way. Tune in and be inspired by Mary Baubeng's incredible story of courage and resilience. I know you are going to be blessed by this. It's so amazing. We even start out with a prayer, which she blessed us with. So, yeah, enjoy. I'll talk to you later. Bye for now. Good morning, Mary. How are you? Good afternoon already.
Good afternoon. Thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm also doing fine. Just the weather is a bit chilly outside, but well, we thank God it's not as cold as it has been the whole week.
Oh, we have
Yeah.
sun here today. So after the interview, we are going for a long walk.
Enjoy the walk.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you once again for honoring my invitation to share your journey with my listeners and to the SheCentre community. It's I know I've already had so many stories from your life, and that's why I reached out to you, because I feel like your life is a true testament to not only God's work, but also it's something that I know that can inspire so many women, because you've been through so many things that I believe so many women are going through and have gone through, but have not gotten to the place where you are. Yeah.
Yes. So,
Yes, you wanted to lead us in an opening prayer, and you can bless all the SheCentre listeners where we do that as well.
all right.
Yeah.
So we start with a short prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you because you are good and you are who you say you are. I thank you for this opportunity, getting together with Resty and sharing, trying and making it possible to encourage so that this will reach far and near to every woman who needs some advice or some encouragement from you. You do everything beautiful in your own good time. This is not about us, Lord. This is all about your glory and your honor. Let this interview reach every woman around the globe who needs an advice or some encouragement, so that it keeps multiplying, to be it a testimony to your name. In Jesus' mighty name, amen.
Amen. Thank you once again for that beautiful prayer. It's a blessing to start off this with a prayer, because indeed it's something that will help to guide us, and we know that the Holy Spirit will give us the words to say and use them to impact someone's life out there.
Yes.
The reason why I invited you, I already said, is to inspire my listeners and to inspire me. I've already been inspired by your life because we met through our church organization, and every week you bless us with so much wisdom, and they say with age comes wisdom, but I'm guessing you've always been wise. It's also possible because you've been through quite a lot of stuff, and that has shaped your journey, and that's the goal of my podcast, because I keep sharing here that the reason why we are able in the future to be triumphant, to do so many things, it's usually because of what we've been through, the experiences that we've gone through. And this is the reason why I also share the stories of different women, or why I started this podcast, is because I know when someone listens to a story, I have personally benefited from stories of different people, especially autobiographies of people, because when someone tells you their life from the beginning to the end, you're like, oh my God, it's like listening to Mandela, and you're like, oh, I'm glad that I didn't only get to know you as a president, because then I would never know why you do the things that you do. I really have to go down to how did you come to be this Mandela that loves the world, or this Nkrumah, or all those big people that we hear of, Oprah. Until you hear their stories, that's when you get to understand their mistakes. You get to understand. I think celebrities have it much easier, I believe, with regards to perspective, because we know their stories. Yeah. We know, this person was born, Joyce Meyer was raped when she was young by her father. So sometimes if I see her acting like this, I should understand that that's why she's the way she is, or that's why she's aggressive. But us, the normal day people, you go into the office, you act a certain way. No one is going to understand why you're acting like that. No one cares to even ask, why are you always angry? Why are you always frustrated? Why are you so protective? So I feel like through sharing stories, women especially, who in African society have gone through so much. We go through so much stuff that the international world does not know. And then when you travel to Europe, people are expecting you to act like a civilized European or a Westerner, and they're like, you should do this. But the things we've gone through are completely different from what they have here. Like, people here have Kindergeld, they have Mutterschaft and all those things. And back home, someone tells you, I raised my child with nothing. And you're like, what? So I want to make such stories international. I want people from African countries, especially in East Africa, where I'm building this platform, to be able to know that what they are going through, they are not in it alone. Someone else in Ghana, like you, in Germany, in different countries. I've had guests from Brazil. I'm having many more from America, South Africa. And I want people to know that you are not alone as a woman, and you can learn from your mistakes. So I like to ask, what happened to you? And the question is, please share about your childhood experiences and how you think it might have impacted the person that you are right now, and how you see this beautiful world that God created.
Thank you very much, Resty.
Yeah.
I think that what the Bible tells us, that God works everything together for his good,
Yes.
for his children, is so rightly so, because how did we get to meet? It was during the pandemic, when there was people were not allowed to go out, and just scrolling through the YouTube and internet, we got to get to know each other, and I have come to know you, love you, appreciate you, and we are learning from each other, and everything. Every week we meet and share. It takes a piece of the little me I didn't have. I reflect back. I mean, we all went through ups and downs, but we are learning also from each other.
Yeah.
So I will start. My name is Mary, married with 3 grown-up children. I am the 4th of 7 children.
And you're a grandma.
And I'm a grandma, yeah. Well, my uncle didn't adopt me, but wanted to raise me up at a very young age. In fact, I asked my brother when that was. He said it must have been between 6 and 7 years. That's when my uncle picked me, because he said he loved me so much. And I believe him. He was a faithful man, a very good-hearted man. But he worked in such a way that most of the time he was gone, outside the country or within the country, but not home. And I knew, my parents also knew, that he loved me very much. But the wife didn't like me. So when he was away, I wouldn't even sit with them at the dining table. I mean, I'll be given somewhere in the kitchen, in a corner, to be eaten. Like most African homes don't have dining tables. So that was not, my biological parents didn't have that type of dining table. So it was not something big. But at their home, they were living in a higher class. But I was so mistreated, so much so that I felt really lost. Till when my parents took me back to them, I asked, and my brother told me, I came back to them around when I was 10, 11. And he was also not very sure. When I was there, and because our parents were close together, when I heard they were coming, I panicked. When I was even sent to them, I panicked. And I realized that this torture, this mistreatment, didn't die when I left them. It was something inborn and was blocking and was making me afraid in everything, especially when I got near them. They had 2 children, a boy and a girl, who are, of course, now big men and women. And it really bothered me so much so that when I got back to my parents and my biological siblings, I felt like I didn't belong. And that's how I was also treated in my own home. So I didn't know where I belonged. And I think my father realized that. And so he really kept me. I mean, he really, really was protective about what I did, who talked to me, he took me out of the 7 and was always particular that he saw that I was, I had in it everything I wanted. And he always instilled in me that I should not be afraid of anything. He said he would take me out. That time the Americans were all over Ghana. So where they were living, excuse me, was like here now where we are living. And so he would take me to the American side and tell me, look around. Everything you see here doesn't belong to the Americans alone. You belong. These things belong to you. You don't have to be afraid of everything. I will always be on your side. And it was like assuring me, giving me this assurance that nothing will really can happen to me.
Wow.
And so I always was happy when I was home, and when my father was home, I knew no one could touch me. Even then, when I heard my uncle or his wife was coming for a visit, and then I would be scared. I remember on one occasion, sometimes my biological mother comes to visit at where my uncle is, and the mother of my uncle's wife also comes to visit. And they were living, like I said, in a very higher class than my parents. So when my uncle is not home, I wouldn't dare go to the sitting room or anything. I was so scared. I was so scared of this old lady that I even couldn't talk. Wow. So my mother had closed from church and passed by to say hello. My uncle's wife had not come back from church, so the mother of the wife was there. And I was wanting to go to see my mother, say, Mama, how are you? But I was so scared to even go to my mother. And this woman didn't know that the woman seated in the sitting room was my mother, and so started insulting me. I hear your parents are so bush. I hear you amount up to nothing. My daughter has brought you here to train you up. One day you will eventually go and care for your bush people.
Oh
in front of my mother also had the patience to sit down and listen to everything. So it took about 10-15 minutes when my uncle's wife came in, and then they started shouting. Oh, auntie, my mother, we call her auntie. You know, the Ghanaians, when we prolong things, we say A at the end. Auntie, auntie, but A. And then the woman realized and said, oh, this is your mother. Why didn't you say anything? And so my mother confronted the woman of the house, and he said, well, I don't think my daughter is going to grow up freely. She's going to grow in fear. I have seen a little since I came, and I think it's better we take her away from her. And my uncle was so sad, and my mother said, no way. I thought you wanted to bring her up to be part of your children, but the way I see things. And you see, that's how I got away from them and went to my parents' house. And there, my siblings were there. We were getting on very well. But there was an instilled fear which didn't allow me to go out and do everything that I wanted to do. I always had limitation. I even wanted to ask for water in my own parents' home. In Africa, we don't do that. But time and time again, we were in school, and we went to secondary school. We finished school. We were just 2 of us among the 7 who went to secondary school, my elder brother and myself. And we managed to do everything that was supposed to do. But my parents went through very difficult times to pay for school fees and everything. So the moment I finished school, I started working. Working in one of the big companies in Ghana. And then eventually I got married. And when I married, I thought that was the real beginning of life. We had everything, we were loving and everything. We had 2 children in Ghana. And my husband was then here in Europe and wanted to bring us over. So I came first to Europe and left my children. When I was leaving my children, my daughter Thelma, who is now over 40, was 8 months. I was even breastfeeding when I left her behind. My son was 2.5. I wouldn't advise any mother to do that no matter what. I thought I was coming here to work and put my children or build a family which would be a bit better off than how I grew up.
Yeah.
But nothing can replace the love and presence of a parent. You can't just leave your children.
That's
And
true.
although my children, Julian and Thelma, are also here, they are working, they are okay, but you see that they still have this, it's like you really left us.
A
How
sense
could
of
a mother do
abandonment,
that?
yeah? Yeah.
And sometimes, especially Thelma, makes me feel it, and I understand her. So when I brought them here, Thelma was 2. I left them for about 1.5 to 2 years, and Julian was getting to 4 or a little over 4. Life was very well. And it took really a lot of time, strength, and prayer for them to acknowledge me as their mother. It wasn't easy. And when they could reason and in school on everything, even when they grew up, Thelma will not understand how I did that, because I had Naomi here in Germany, and they could see the relationship, because with Naomi I was always around.
Yeah.
But them, so they think that I left them behind because I didn't love them. That was not the case.
Yeah.
But how do we explain that to a child, even to a grown-up?
Yeah.
It is nothing. It is a something that you can never repair. It is damaged. So I pray just to God that they also forgive me in the first place and try to understand why I did that. You can't explain yourself away. It isn't done. And so accept that it was wrong, and I accepted it was wrong, but there is nothing you can do again. You can't turn back the clock. So that's it. But again, we were here, we were happy. My husband was also almost gone, always. And we get into marriage and we think it is for better or for worse. Marriage is work, and it requires unexpected problems, and somehow along the line, things were not working together very well for us, and so we had to divorce. So we divorced after I had Naomi. Life was not easy, and it was painful. And I pray to God that none of your generation will go through divorces when you get married. Once you put God in the center, things will work out.
Yeah.
Well, we divorced and life went on. We had friends when we were married. People came to us for party. People came to us for advice and everything. But all of a sudden, we realized that the moment this separation came, I was all alone by myself. People don't come to you because of who you are. They come to you because of what they can get from you.
Yeah.
And so that is what I went through a lot with my children. I mean, we were just isolated and didn't know what to do. And I went on working, trying to build whatever was broken. You cannot do that alone in Germany, especially with 3 children and a working mother. It was difficult, but by the grace of God, I am where I am now. bringing up 3 grown-up children who are all, by the grace of God, doing well, working on their own, and living in their own homes. Like you said, I'm a grandmother. I have 3 grandchildren. I don't take any credit for myself. It was by the grace of God.
Yeah.
Because I remember sometime, I think in the early 90s, when the children were still going to school, there was so much racism here in Germany that life was tough. You are scared when your children went out and scared when they were coming in. And because I worked with the embassy, I had contact with some people in the German ministries, and we were close.
Yeah.
And in Thelma's class, she had a friend whose father was the chief of the police, Bundeskriminalamt. No? So when this thing started, there was a lot of news going on, how people were being killed, how people were being tortured. Even on the streets, they got rid of you as a black. And I was so scared. So I called this person I know, and I told him that this is the situation. I have to work. My children go to school alone, and I don't know whether I will come home one day and then have no more children. And he said, Mary, we have been trying to work on this thing,
Yeah.
but now that I'm hearing it from somebody I know, I see how deep and painful that will be. I'll see what I can do. And I told the same thing to this boss here, and she said, oh, I thought this is happening, but in the big cities. I didn't know that it is also happening around us. Mary, don't worry, your children will be protected. So from that day, he heard that. He placed a policeman in front of our house,
Wow.
not one policemen, and all down the street to the school. My children went to school under their protection and came back. And I said, this is God. They
Yeah,
did that
true.
for several weeks till the situation died down a bit. And so God has brought us here for a purpose. It has nothing you do and do it well is in vain. God will
Yeah.
always reward if you don't give up.
Yeah. Wow. I can
Yes.
imagine for those who didn't have the connections that you had, the things that they
Yes.
had to go through.
Yes.
I have I think someone in my family. She grew up here in Germany. Her dad, I think, was German, and when she came to Uganda, she was staying there for a while. She's very aggressive, and every time she was like telling someone off, she always says, "You don't know what I've been through. I have faced racism at its core. I will." She always said, "I will beat you up so bad." She was always very like defensive and aggressive towards like people, and she always felt like, I think it was rooted in the fact that because she grew up around that time, she just turned, or she's turning 40 this year, around there, and she always sourced it from, I have been through this. Like, you don't know what I've been through. And I think she was staying in a very small town at that time when she was living here in Germany before they moved to a different country. So I can't only imagine, at least you had this and yet you had to go through it. But I'm guessing for the people who didn't even have any connection or support. My mom moved here in early 2000, and racism was also still a bit, it's there. It's, she said she would be in church and they're telling people, blessing to the another person. And literally everyone would bless each other and not even walk up to her. She was a foreigner in this country, and already they were making her feel like, yeah, you're just there. So I can't even imagine how tough that must be for the mothers or for the families that had to grow up here without this kind of support that you received. And we also, indeed, that's favor. We thank God that you at least had it for your children to grow up to see that this nation can also protect you.
Yeah. And Resty, one thing I have also to say is that, especially for mothers who are in Germany, I can only talk about Germany because that's the experience I have had. Parents don't really want to integrate and support their children in school. And that is really very painful, because it depends on how active you are in the life of your children in school, what you know, how the child is doing in school, and how you connect with other parents.
Yeah.
That's where they place your standard. That's how your child is upgraded. Whether your child is good in school or not depends on what he reflects from the home. We Because it's always work, work, work. We leave the children on their own. We give them keys to come home on their own. And this, when they go to school, they ask them, so how is it? What does your father do? What does your mother do? What do you do when you go home? And if they realize that the child is always on her own or his own, they don't take the child serious. That's how most of the children end up in the lower Hauptschule, and from there you don't go. And Naomi, like I said, because she was born here and I was here, though I was working, I made time every evening to talk to them, find out what they did in school, what they are about to do, and everything. And tell her what she has to do and what she doesn't have to do. I warned her about not talking to people, even people she knew. I told her how she should react. And they had this time when they exchanged visiting each other. So one day she told me, Mama, this girl said she wants me to come home with her. The mother was there. The mother was a banker. The father was the houseman, and they were members of our church. And so I said, okay, I know them, and so it's okay. I'm saying this because my daughter has a baby now, and so we have to share this experience so that you know how to behave when your child starts kindergarten and school. So my daughter said, so I'll go there after school, and the mother will come and pick us. I said, okay, I know her, no problem. So I come home, and I thought maybe my husband had picked Naomi, but she was not home. Naomi was home. And she said, Mama, when I got there, this girl's father said I should pull down my panty. Rest in my heart went, because I knew. I said, what did he do? And so I immediately got into the car, pulled my daughter into the car, and of course, Thelma would always come with us. Thelma came and sat there. We went to the house, knocked the door, and the father has told the child not to say anything to the mother or me. Hide everything. And my daughter was bold to say, yes, yes. He said, he sat there with only a towel on his waist and said we should also remove our panties, and even the daughter enjoys it. It means the father was raping his own daughter, and the mother didn't know it, and they were covering up. You see, God works in mysterious ways. What if I have been leaving my daughter on her own, doing her own thing, not warning her, not talking about her? You don't have to stop talking to your, especially here, a black and in Europe. We don't have to continue pouncing them in their heads what not to do. And so we got there, the mother was denying. Because they are church members, of course, we go to the same church. And the mother said, no way, no way. And so Thelma said, if you don't believe what my sister is telling me, my younger sister is telling me, what has my sister got to lose when it comes to lie about your husband? All I can say is take care of your daughter, because my sister said your husband has been doing the same to her. And the mother, after that, later the mother saw me and confirmed. Later, the mother started watching out there, not knowing that the father has been raping their own daughter all the time.
Was this a German family?
Yes, it was a German family, all the time. But I reported to the police, and they said, well, because Naomi was young, then we have no proof. There is nothing they can do. And I said, then watch out that these people don't invite small girls in the house again.
True.
But they kept inviting us. It happened again, and then eventually the man was put in a clinic that was not normal, and the wife
Clinic,
divorced.
not prison.
No, not prison. In a psychiatric clinic. And so the woman saw me after that and apologized and apologized. He said, never, he said, but it was good. Even it traumatized her daughter. The daughter couldn't eat again. You see her painted all her face and wearing all these black dresses, very long dresses. And I said, if you had listened to us at the time, maybe you could have prepared something.
Yeah.
You see. But that is it. I mean, people are evil in this world. And I don't know the way the world is going. You have to really learn to protect your child
True.
because otherwise things will get out of hands.
That's very true. Wow.
So,
Wow.
and again about the school, I was always active in the school. I was always present in the school, asking the children. And I remember when they get to a certain stage here, you either go to gymnasium or the Hauptschule or
After
something.
primary school, yeah.
Yeah. And it's always the teachers will decide and tell you parents what they think is best for your child. But I realized that most of the blacks are always ending in Hauptschule. And I said, because in Hauptschule, you can't study, you can't be a lawyer, you can't be a medical doctor, you can't be anything, engineer or something. You end up, I'm not saying that the work they do around is bad, but why is it that most of the foreigners
Black people,
end up
yeah.
like this?
Yeah.
So when it was time for my son to go to to choose the school, the teacher, of course, told me that my son is good. He was good. But then he wouldn't advise me to take him to gymnasium. And the teacher was very good. He loved my children. And so we should take them to Gesamtschule in between. They put us always in between. And I said, well, I am very grateful and I know that she means well, but I know also what my son can do, and
Yeah.
I will opt for gymnasium. You can always come down, but you can't go up. So I will start from up and see if he fails, then at least I have tried. And she
True.
looked at me because I don't know, but I don't think any foreigner has been able to challenge her in that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
She sat looking at me. I said, yes, I have decided for my son, and he's going to go to gymnasium. And that's what I did. And
Yes.
all my children went to gymnasium. I
Yeah. I
didn't
had
listen to,
in
especially even Naomi.
yeah.
Naomi was, I mean, she was not
They
the
also
very
said this
best.
about Naomi.
Yeah, Naomi was also having it very difficult in school. And
And look at
because,
how she's a dentist now. Wow. If you
yeah,
had
she's a
listened to the
dentist now.
teachers.
She had a
Wow.
particular subject when it was time for her to go to school. She had stomach problems and she started vomiting. So I confronted the teacher and I said, I don't know what you are doing with my daughter, but one thing I know, she's so very scared of you. So if you can really tell me what is going on here, why is she scared of you? You have about 25 children. Everybody is happy. And when it's time for your classes, my daughter is afraid.
Fine.
So what's going
Yeah.
on? She said she doesn't know. And I said, okay, if you don't know, then I will give us, both you and I, a chance. If it is time again for my daughter to take your class and she starts this, I will take her out of the school. And believe me, I will let the whole African community know that blacks are not accepted here. I didn't mince words.
Wow.
And guess what? Naomi was having maths. She was a maths teacher. She would have 4 or 5. And she said when she gets to school and there is a question and even she raises her hand, the teacher wouldn't pick her up. So I said, yeah, my daughter, you don't allow my daughter to answer anything. Like I said, we have talked, I have understood, but if Naomi doesn't, if the situation doesn't change, I will change schools. And guess what? The next test Naomi did, from 4 and 5, she got 2.
Wow.
All of a sudden.
Yeah, that was
And I
good.
was asking,
Wow.
what is it? So I have a lot of African community mothers around who always call to find out what they should do and what. And you see, it is this working situation. They have to work. Some are single mothers, we understand. But then there
Yeah.
are Nachhilfe, where the children can go and
Get extra
find help.
support.
It's a
Yeah.
bit expensive, but that's why you work. So I've been advising, don't trade your children's future for your
Yeah.
business. It's not worth
Yeah.
it.
That's true.
Yeah?
That's very true. Wow,
Yeah.
Mary, you've shared something very important. I know I have some listeners in Germany.
Yeah, nobody
I would
thought, when Naomi's teacher heard that Naomi had qualified for medical
Jim,
school, they
she
met
couldn't believe it.
as old students. She said, what? Is it true what I heard? She said, just imagine, I'm doing
Yeah.
dentistry.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
This is going to set many mothers free, and I'll make sure they listen to this. My sister is going through the same thing. Her child is the one, like, he just joined Grundschule primary school, and of course from kindergarten they sent him. They said, yeah, he's German. Is not to the best level. In my mind, I'm like, huh? So I met this Kenyan lady, my mom's friend, and we were going somewhere in the train, and we were talking about this in the train. And she said she's from Kenya. In Kenya, their main language is Swahili, but they also speak English. So this child at home, the parents speak Swahili. Mostly at home. So that means when she goes at school, that's where they speak German. So that means the level of German is not going to be as fluent as the one for other kids, especially in kindergarten and in primary school, because the child is still trying to, master both languages and make them equal. At home, they speak, but they don't learn the theoretical part of it. Like, they don't learn it like in school. She's just learning it to speak. So the woman said, the teacher at school was like, yeah, your child will go to the starter class and not go to exactly like in Grundschule because they will be slow, their German is slow. The woman went and said, you're saying that my child doesn't understand most of these things. Have you considered that she doesn't understand them because the child is confused with the languages? Then she said, let me ask her in Swahili. So she asked her, what's this? What's this? And the child responded to everything. She said, you're making my child seem stupid only because they are not able to be affluent in your language, which they are just learning. I moved here as a foreigner. Even I don't understand it. And you're comparing this child to a native. And this is exactly the same thing my big sister is going through right now. Like, she went through it with her son, and they put him in this class, and now every time there's a problem, we can't handle him in the after-school service, the one where you go after classes, and the teachers are always complaining about him, this and this and this. So we sat down last week but one, and we were talking about this, and I told her, you know your child more than these parents do, these teachers do. You spend you know your child is smart. We know that. Yes, he's stubborn, but he's smart. But they don't know how to handle him. So they will tell you what your son is, and you will believe it and think there's something wrong with your child. But the fact is, they just don't understand him. They don't understand his story. They don't understand his experience. They are comparing him to other children. Even if there's another black child in that class, that child is not going through what you're going through. They don't know what you're going through. And my sister was like, this is actually, like, she was like, she needs to get, so she said, okay, now I'm going to talk to the teacher. Because the teacher and the Nakhilfe option, they don't have the same experience. The teacher is like, yeah, he's stubborn, but sometimes it's on and off. So I'm like, then that's enough. Instead of the other people telling you your child is completely gone, the teacher is able to tell you, sometimes he's okay, sometimes he's not okay. So that means there are times when he's fine. Then find out where you can help him. Why is he? Maybe he doesn't like these teachers. Maybe he's black, they treat him a certain way. That could be the reason why he's acting out when he's with them. And it's important, like you said, for parents to be present. This is not only even for parents in Europe. In Africa, oh my God, when I was growing up, there are teachers who, they beat you for no reason. And then on the visiting day in boarding school, they come to your parent and tell them how you're the worst. And your parent believes them. Your parent believes them, you get punished, and you continue fearing this teacher and failing their class. Instead of passing that class, the teacher is now not only intimidating you, but your parent is believing them.
Yes.
Instead of believing you and understanding why are you failing this class.
Yes.
So that's a very important thing that you've mentioned there.
Resty, I remember once we went to the PTA of Julian, and the teacher was trying to tell us certain areas where Julian is weak. And my husband, Julian's father, was responding to them. And I said, no. If he's here, when he's here, he's under your control. When my son is home, he doesn't do that. So if he's doing that and you don't correct him, he continues doing it. But my son is not a fool. And my husband, seated next to me, was telling me, listen to what the teacher is doing, saying, and he knows me. In front of the teacher, I said, the teacher will listen to me because I'm the mother. And so he saw that she couldn't play around with me, so my husband kept quiet. So I told him in our language, I said, if you can't say anything positive about your son, then keep quiet. And then I turned to the teacher and I said, well, if those are the things that trouble my son, both of us are going to work on it. But my son is not foolish. When
Yeah.
you talk to him, you see, my Thelma was telling her friends that they called me a loving mother, a lion mother. Because the moment I heard something, no matter even if I'm having contraction to birth, the lives of my children in school was more important to me. I will
Yeah. Wow.
immediately get there. So I heard one of the teachers, a teacher who was also Naomi's baby sitter, before she started teaching again, she said, Mary, whenever you got there and they saw you, they asked, everybody was asking something wrong with the Boabin children. You see, because once they know that the children are protected, everybody is careful.
Yes.
Even the teachers are careful because I show interest in what the children do. I was present in school whenever anything. I talk to the teachers. I ask them questions. I try to cooperate with them. Ne? Because I can't know everything. There are some
Yes.
informations maybe I don't know about my child where the teacher can tell me. So
Yes.
you have to
Yes.
work with them together. But if you leave your children all to the mercy of the I mean there are
To the
25, 30
system.
children in the class. The teacher
Yes.
can't do everything for your son or daughter
Exactly.
alone.
Yeah. Exactly.
So
Wow.
you have to really be present and active.
That's true, and it sets free so many mothers even back home, because these days, we are working, we have business here, we are doing this, and the teacher at school, and especially in African society where children go to boarding school, you know, literally, I spent most of the time at school than I spent with my mom, and many teachers always told my mom who I was. But I remember this one time they had to make me repeat a class. And at that time, now that I'm an adult, I look back in hindsight and I remembered during this time, I was performing very well. Because I was like, what happened in this particular class? Then I remembered in those 2 years, my mom had my siblings after me. I was the last born for 10 years, and then my mom had my sister and my brother. Now, things at home changed. And in addition to that, we used to have holidays at my grandma's place where I was always free playing, in the village. And they say that's very good for children. Mostly for the primary level, you're learning things about nature in school and so. But then my grandmother traveled to the States for 2 years. And during that time, my academics went down because we were now in the city during the holidays. And the only thing we did was watch TV. Watch TV and play games and go out swimming at this at my siblings' place. And I spent so much time around my mom, who now had my young sister and my young brother, and their attention was now gone away from me. So when I looked back, I realized that if the teachers at school had noticed this change in my life and not just said, oh, she's performing badly, let her repeat this class. But I remember my mom telling the teacher, my child is not stupid. She has been performing well all throughout the classes before. Why is she not performing well? She actually wanted to take me out of the school and put me in another school. But my auntie said, you know what? She has been acting up stubborn. Just leave her there. Maybe she will learn. I did learn from that, but I also do believe if someone had taken time to notice the changes happening in my home. I was just 10 years old. So a lot was happening, which now made me to now start performing poorly. But I had to learn the hard way by being made to repeat the class and feel embarrassed and all that stuff, which is something that I believe I would not do as a parent. I would want to know, why has my child been performing well and now something is up? It could be something at home. You can't just say, like you said, for instance, you went through a divorce. That's a huge change for children. But in African society, tomorrow your parents can uproot you from here and take you in another home and do this tomorrow. No explanation, no therapy, no psychology, no nothing. Just your parents just expect you to just figure things out on your own. But at the end of the day, it's important for us to notice that these things affect the child's academic performance, but not only academic performance, their psych, because you said your children tell you that they felt abandoned because you left them back home. They were too little. I was 13 when my mom left, and I couldn't even bring the words out to say something like, you abandoned me. My mom just said, I need to work for you guys. But there are times when life was so hard for us, and I felt abandoned. I felt saying, if my mom was here, this wouldn't be happening. And it took me until I was 27 years to reconnect with my mom, to have that bond, because I was far away from her for most of my life. So I can imagine how that can affect not only your academics at school, but also the rest of your life as an adult. That's something. And if you're a parent, like you said, please, parents out there, learn to see, even if you did it for your children, like Mary said, she apologized to her children. That is a very important thing for you to know. Yes, you did it for the good of your children, but learn where it might have impacted your child and say, you know what, I am sorry that this happened, so that the child can feel heard and not just ignored. So thank you so much for that lesson. I am learning a lot already from this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes you don't know the pain. I remember when I was going through the divorce, Julian and Thelma were already grown-ups, and Naomi was the youngest. I had the impact after the papers were signed, how that had effect even on the grown-ups. I didn't know that it was so painful. I didn't know that it was going to have this impact on them. I mean, everything has changed overnight. And I said, I took the decision. I said I was not going to marry again. And I said I was doing it even for my children. I was going through but after that, it took me years of asking myself, did I take the right decision?
Yeah.
At least I should have stayed because of the children. And I was contemplating, it was Julian and Thelma who told me, Mama, we expect you to live for us and not die for us. We see you have not been happy for all the time.
Wow.
So don't be guilty about anything. See that you move forward. And it was not easy. It was not easy, but I had an aunt here around who always encouraged me that it was my decision, and a decision you take, you stand to it. And I was working at that time. So I had 3 children, and I was a full-time mother and a full-time worker. It wasn't easy. Especially for Naomi, it wasn't easy. But I was determined to make it work. I don't know how I got the extra strength, but I think God had helped me to lead my steps in everything I did. Everything went on well with being a single mother and being a full-time work. It worked out. It will always work out if you are determined to make it work.
Wow. Yeah.
You don't give up
Definitely.
in life.
Yeah, that's true. You don't know
And
your own
sometimes
strength.
you have to learn to walk away from anything that doesn't add up positively to your life.
Yes, that's true.
Because I remember I was isolated. My home, when I was married to my first husband, my home was the home where people came to party. Eventually, I even heard that when people heard that we were divorced, some of the Ghanaians around were asking us, where are we
Where
going to
will we
party
go?
now?
Wow. Not how is Mary,
No.
but where are we going to party
Yes.
from?
But
Wow.
after that, the house we were living in a very big bungalow, I mean a beautiful bungalow, and it was always warm, always full of people before everybody came. I heard that when people were coming, when the diplomats were coming from Ghana, and they said if you're having problems with anything at all around a bond,
Go to
go to
Mary.
the Baubings and ask. So our house was open to all. And all of a sudden, everything went quiet and cold. I was the only one in the house. My husband has moved out. My children the big ones were almost always gone. And it was a very terrible time I had to go through. So I even started drinking gin and tonic. But when I didn't know what to do anymore, I put on some sermons or some music and I went into the wood. You don't know how much strength and how much you can gather in nature.
Yeah.
You go out full of burden and you come back relieved. And then you sit back and say, so what, Lord? What should I do? What is the next step? And he always comes in to tell you what to do. I wouldn't have known how to fight for my children. I mean, Naomi had tried to go to the university, and eventually she said, okay, it looks like I'm not going to be admitted in any university. So she applied for air hostess. So for some time she was working as an air hostess with Lufthansa. She worked with Lufthansa for I think 2.5 years, and she said, well, maybe I wouldn't even have the money to go on holidays like I would want to, but being on a flight to countries is like having holidays
Yeah.
without. So
Yeah.
during the course of this work, she had the admission, and she said she dropped the work at Lufthansa like a hot cake. I said, you are dropping the work? She said, Mama, do you want me? I don't, this is not what I wanted to do. All I
Yeah.
wanted to do is study medicine, and that's what I'm going to do. So she
Wow.
resigned immediately and got back to the university. You see, so God works everything to
Together.
our advantage.
Yeah.
That we have
Wow.
it, the world itself is in war. If you don't take part of it, it is a stage of war. So you have to fight your way through.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow, that's a word. My little sister has just gotten a job in the Austria airline, and she was like, "Well, this is an opportunity of a lifetime." She put a stop. She's taken a break from her bachelor's, and she's like, "You know what? I can always come back and finish this, but this opportunity is so big." And I told her at first, my mom was like, "Well, you should finish," but I said, "You know what? It's different in Africa. They make it seem like you have bachelor, masters, PhD, and then you're accomplished. But many of those people who have PhD and masters, they have no jobs, they have no experience. But here, I like that no matter what you're doing, it's respected, whether you have experience in this." So I told my sister, "You know what? That might give you some exposure. It might make you even realize if the course," because she was doing biochemistry, and it was too much stressful for her with the pandemic and being, she's going through so much. So I said, this might give you that freedom to actually realize your life from a different perspective. See how other people, she lived in Bavaria almost her whole life, and in a small town. So she faced racism with people, calling her names and all that stuff. And eventually, when she moved, she went to Austria, Vienna, and she was like, "I'm not coming back." So I think she needs that exposure to see. I even started seeing how because when she was in school here, she was always, wanting to do straight hair. She never let anyone see her natural hair. And then when I came in 2017, I started to tell her, you need to let your hair to breathe. You can't always be doing wigs and stuff. She's like, I can't let anyone see my hair. But by the time she finished gymnasium, this girl was going to school with her natural hair. And
Wow.
my mom couldn't believe it because I think she just needed someone to show her that you don't care. For me, I would always go the way I wanted. And now that she has gone into that exposure of airline and stuff, I do believe that she's going to find herself, and eventually, like Naomi, she will realize if another opportunity comes up, she will say, "You know what, this is not for me. Let me do what I wanted to do." But you can't find out that that's what you really want to do unless you try out something else. I actually didn't know Naomi did this. She would make a really good air hostess.
Yeah, she was. And also Thelma, my daughter
Yeah.
Thelma, she has always wanted to be an actress. And she studied what BBL, something to do with economics, and she did well. And she said, "No, I'm not the type of person who is going to sit in the office."
Office,
So
yeah.
when she came and told me that she's going to Berlin, I felt like, why wouldn't this girl? I was always thinking she's being rebellious because I left her behind, because she will always do what she likes. And one day I remember we had a prayer meeting together, and I asked our group, "Please, can you pray for my daughter so that she gets this business of being an actress off her mind?" And one of our leaders said, "Mary, God has placed something in each and every one of us. It is a
Yeah.
gift that calls you again and again to go that road. Don't ask us to pray against what God is asking your daughter to do, but then
Amen.
give us the grace to do that." My
Yeah.
daughter got to Berlin, and I said, "How are you going to survive in Berlin? I do only this work as a secretary in the embassy, and I can't start distributing money, paying you." She said, "Mama, you don't have to pay anything. I will make it." And Thelma is a strong-willed woman.
Yeah.
I say woman now because she's a woman. And I said, "How much money have you?" She said, "I have 50 euros, but I'm going to make it." And I said, "Where are you going to stay?" She said, "I'll find a way." So
Wow.
can you imagine a whole of Berlin, and you refuse to give her money, and she said, "I'll make it"? And I will call and find her. She said, yeah, I found a friend. I'll be staying there for some time till I work a bit. So she started, even here, she started working in restaurant as a server. They serve around. And then she wanted to have it very big. And then she went to Berlin. I was always praying, Lord, protect my daughter and everything. And then she started having these roles in the films where, as a black, ne, I told her, have you ever seen a black actress in Germany who has won an Oscar? Is that what you want to do? She said, I don't know, but I will have my way. And so they started with her being an African prostitute, an African drug dealer, and she said they asked me to speak broken German, although I can speak perfect German. And I said, why don't you back off this thing? She said, Mama, no, I'm going to do it. And so I think it got to a time when they gave her roles, and she told her agent, if they give me any role as a prostitute or anything, find somebody else to give. I'm out of that. I'm not going to do it. So for some time she was struggling, and so she made her own podcast, which is called Tell Me Nothing from the Horse. And it went on YouTube, and all of a sudden she was exposed, and now she started having good roles, interviewing ministers of Germany, interviewing a thing. And then she would every day keep coming back to me, said, Mama, what do you say? Are you not proud of me? I said,
That's
yeah,
one.
I never dreamt you could make it this far.
Wow.
But God is good.
Yes, we
So
put our own limitations on other people so much.
Yes. So she's all over, and she everywhere. There is an interview with the other day. I heard her interviewing introducing the Bundeskanzler on a stage, and she said, well, everybody was saying, Thelma introduced it, but this is not a big deal. And I said, a whole German chancellor, you are going to, and you think, right? But that is not a big deal. We make people look more than they are. We are all human beings. So I remember
that's a big deal to the outside world. It is.
Yes. During the Corona time, they were not acting. They were not doing anything. But all this time, my daughter was having work to do. And one of the big directors, the film director, said, look, when all seemed lost, look at this lady Thelma Baubeng. She created her own podcast so that you can even enjoy it in your home. This is what is expected of this generation. And I watched the interview and I said, Lord, this is your doing.
It is.
This
it is.
Your
and
doing.
The Grammy is coming soon. In
Yes,
Jesus'
it
name.
is coming
I love watching her. I follow her on social media. She's so hilarious. I hope that I can have her on the podcast because she's so funny. I love how, in many cases, our parents tell us, don't do this, you won't make it, and you can believe your parent. But she does have the lion spirit like you do. You raise her to go beyond what the limitations are. And because of that, you were afraid. You're like, wait, does she have what it takes? But you had already given her everything that she needed to do this. And right now, I remember when I was watching the interview where she brought people into your house and they were asking where she came from. And I'm like, wow, look at Mary, And she's also every time talking about your business, your stuff. And I'm like, wow, this is really amazing. And I hadn't actually known that she just went into this later on after her studies. So it's amazing to know that it started from a limitation and she gave her all. And I love it. I really love that. I watched some of her videos, and I haven't watched the movies really, but I did watch, I think, one, I don't know if it was a series or it was a movie. There's one that you shared with us sometime, and I watched it, and she's a really, really good actress.
Yes.
For someone who went to school for something else, many people go to school for such stuff for their whole life, but for her, she just got into it, and she's a natural.
Yeah, I remember she made a show in Berlin and in one of the very big theaters, and it was full. And it was full, and the people, they enjoyed. I also enjoyed
the comedy,
the whole
the stand-up
show.
I watched
that comedy, and in the end, she said, I am here because of this woman who is seated quiet and not saying a word. Don't let her be intimidated by what you see, because she can be very wild.
Yes,
She
that's when
has
she
made me,
shared.
she is why
That's
I'm
when she
standing
shared.
here.
That's when she shared how they they told you, the teachers told you that she should not go to gymnasium, and you told them, you let your children go. Mine is going to go.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Wow.
for that alone, both
Yeah.
Julian and Thelma are so grateful that I stood. But you know what, Resty? When I look back and see how my father was trying to protect me, inject boldness in me, telling me who I am and what I can
Yeah.
do,
Yes.
I think that is what pushed that fear, that this emotional fear which always attacks you from that little child.
Yeah.
My father
Yeah.
made sure that he incited boldness and fearlessness in me. He said, "You can do everything. No one, you shouldn't put any limit on your life. Whatever you think you can do," he said, "because your imagination can take you places where your physical body cannot take you. So imagine high, imagine wide, imagine far, and get there. There is
Wow.
nothing that will stop what God has placed on your life." And I
Yes.
think I got that from my father. Being a defensive woman, thinking through life of what I can do, and that is what I gave my children. I gave
Wow.
them, I gave them when I see that they will not let anyone push them around. I said, "Thank you, Lord."
Yeah.
At
Great.
least that.
Yeah.
Because here in Germany, especially when you are now this generation is waking up a bit. But formerly we were being intimidated as a black. You are not allowed to do anything. But Thelma said, "Mama, I told them that when they give me that role, they should keep it for themselves. I'm going to do my own thing." And
Yeah.
now she's even playing a police commissarian in
Wow.
that odd. But you know, it all begins from home. You, as
True.
the parent, should start with
Yes.
your child. Teach
Yes.
her the way they should go. You have that knowledge from your parent, you had it from God. Give it to the children. Don't let them be intimidated. Let the children know that when you touch me, there is somebody behind me who will come and back me up.
Yeah, that's
With
very
that
true.
in mind, they will go very far.
Wow, wow. I
Yeah.
think that will set so many parents free,
Yes.
because in many cases we are parents there, or parents are already struggling with their own insecurities, and they
Yes.
let other people tell them who they
Yes.
are and who their
Yes.
children are. But
Yes.
if you fight what it is that you're fearing and say, you know what, it ends with me, I'm not going to let my limitations stop me. You could have very well sat down and spent your whole life worrying about or stressing about how your parents sent you to live with a family that did this and this and this to you, but you chose to focus on that part where your father told you you can be better. I have an uncle. I stayed with him for a while when my mom left, and he's one person in my life. I talk to so many people who always say a lot of negative things about me. I have never had this man say anything negative. Even when I would be at his home, he always told me, you can do anything. I would be at school just doing the bare minimum, trying to become a prefect, do this and this. And when he's telling other people about me, it's like he would be talking about the biggest person. He would always be like, Resty is a businesswoman. He would tell my mom, your daughter is going to do big things. And these things fueled me up. I always, even today's Father's Day, I sent him a message and said, Happy Father's Day, Uncle, because this man really poured into me. He doesn't see the impact of his work, but him believing in me, even when my dad was not there, is something that I see has been very, very vital in my life, because it helped me to see this man doesn't see how limited things are for me. He just sees me as an accomplished, I can do anything. So, yeah, thank you so much. Okay, so I have had only one guest who is retired but refused to go into retirement. My auntie, who is still working regardless of her retirement. So, can you please share with us, who have not yet gotten to that part, how is retirement? How is it treating you? And also share about your business.
Yes. Apart from working with the embassy, after they moved to Berlin, I didn't want to go because I wanted to stay with my children here in this area, and so I had African catering service attached to it, as just working on weekends on orders when it was necessary. And because of Thelma's position, she got everything for me whenever she heard there was going to be something somewhere which was which involved prominent
Cooking.
people, she will get the contract. But
Wow.
again, I'm heading towards 70 years. I have worked all my life. And now that I'm on retirement, I thought, why should I work again? Of course, people still asking me. I remember there was, I don't know which year it was. There was a Ghanaian who won a prize, and they asked me to cater for that finger food, and they did it in Haus der Geschichte in Bonn. Haus der Geschichte is a very big place
Historical
where
site, yeah.
people, yeah, big concerts and prominent people. So I did that, and we had it very nice. It's on my website. You will see. And people came and said, "You have a restaurant here and we don't know?" I said, "No, I don't have a restaurant." He said, "But how? Where? What is this food?" They were asking, because I did everything that came on mind. I created everything that I didn't even know, everything. But of course, plantains and meat pies were the main dishes, and kebab,
Yeah.
and everything attached to it. And I had a lady who was helping me she comes from Romania. And she was so angry because people were putting the food even in their bags. But they keep asking whether I don't really want to open something. But there is time for everything, Christy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've worked all my life. I'm now on retirement. And what else can I do but enjoy life? My children are grown up. Everyone is working. Praise the Lord. They are on their feet,
Amen.
and I thank God for that. I'm here with a husband who is so loving, allows me to do everything I, I like, be it with going out with my friends. So all I do now is either we read a bit, or when I'm home and the weather is nice, we sit in the garden,
Beautiful.
talk about life, or go somewhere on weekends, wellness with my friends. I
Wow.
don't stress myself. I now enjoy life. I have
You
worked
make,
enough, and so I think whatever I did before is paying out
yeah.
now. And
Yeah.
so I thank the Lord, and I would enjoy the life that God has given me to the fullest.
Wow. I wish that for my mom because she doesn't
Yes,
know what rest is.
yes,
You make
yes,
you make retirement sound so fine,
yes.
exciting, and what. That's really good. Thank you so much, Mary. This is so much wisdom. I do know one particular person, my sister, my big sister who lives here in Germany. She's going to enjoy this episode so much because she is a mama here. My mom is an empty nester as well, although my brother is still living there even when he's finished school.
Yeah.
But my sister has teenagers and she has been going through, now they has the younger ones who she's struggling with at school. I know she's going to really benefit from this. You have been a mentor since we met you. Mark and I benefit from you every time we're going through something. Mary, where's Mary? And you have guided us and used your wisdom to pour into us. I know that people are going to literally glean from this, and I'm glad that I met you. I know that your life is just starting out, because
Yes,
as we met you when you were just starting out your retirement, and you have
yes,
become our mom. You invited us to your home, we ate
yes.
your wonderful food, and it's amazing to meet people out here who are doing things that not other Africans are doing. Because as soon as we met, you're telling us your daughter is an actress, and my young sister at that time was trying to model and do these things, and I was telling her, I was like, yeah, there's this lady, her daughter is an actress, and I used like Naomi, and I'm like, yeah, this other one, like the other daughter is a dentist, and all these things, and people are like, that's quite interesting. So it's good to see other people, like you said,
And Julian,
integrate.
and Julian is a teacher.
Yes, yes, yes. I
Julian,
actually
who was
shared his
supposed,
page. I shared
Julian,
his page with my brother-in-law, because he wanted to bring his son to play football here, and I was doing the research on Julian's page, because I know he trains kids to do soccer in the summer, to do summer
yes,
camps and stuff like this. So your children turned out amazing
yes,
because you are a lion mother, like you said.
yes.
So before we conclude, please just say a few words to a woman out there who is listening and going through it, and who thinks they can't do it because of the limitations that they have in life.
For every mother or every woman or a wife you can always you will always succeed life in what you don't give up on. I think God has created women in such a way that we are built to fight and lay the foundation of our homes. Women are mothers, wives. We are the foundation of our homes. If you recollect, most of the time when a woman leaves home or dies, something breaks up. So we have to stand on the word of God, aim high. I remember the German ambassador and German Chancellor Angela Merkel. She said one thing once when she was being sworn in. She said her mother told her that she should aim for the highest because it will become lesser when you're up there. I can't translate it in German in English very well.
Yeah.
And so this woman said, I have always followed what my mother told me. Aim higher. Don't look at what you cannot do. Build on what you have. Build on the little you have. Build on what you think you can do. Don't look at what you don't have. And believe that if you don't give up, you will succeed in life. God always honors good work, hard work. And if you rely on your own senses, you will fail. Don't let us skip I can't. This is too much. And pour out of our vocabulary. Know that God said He will make you. He has built you up and has given you a life. He has plans for you. Plans that will make you prosper and not harm you. So rely on God first in everything you do and believe that you can do it. Because I haven't seen anyone struggle in life and lose in the end. If you don't give up, you will always succeed.
Wow.
So mothers, be supporters, be your parents, be the pastors, be everything for your children. For those who have children, be everything there for them. They need you. And those who have no children, wherever you see a sister or a brother who has children and need help, go in. Because women have wisdom. Women have a lot in us to give out. So you have been blessed. Be a blessing to the world.
Wow.
Yes.
You wouldn't believe what you just said at the end there. My mom made friends at church, and you wouldn't believe it that when she left, her friends became our mothers. I have one particular lady, she's called Immaculate. This woman became she's like my best friend. We share with her everything. Her children became our children, like our siblings, and she became our mom when our mom was away. And this relationship started at church. They just met at church, and my mom introduced her to us. And this woman, up to now, she moved to the states. But even in the winter, we were there visiting her last year in 2023. I'm like, I can't believe that this woman is not even my mom's sister. She's just a friend. So that's very true. Many women, I think, in my life, most of my mom's friends, her sisters, are the ones who have gone that extra mile. And their impact on my life has been very huge. So thank you so much for highlighting that. Thank you, Mary, so much for the wisdom, for your knowledge. And I pray that God may continue to bless you with good health and all the desires of your heart, the good ones, the ones that align with His will. Thank you once again.
Okay, and thank you too, Resty, for having me here. And know that what you are doing is what God wants you to do. You are reaching out a lot of people outside there, and you are going to help a lot of people. So I pray that God blesses you, give you the wisdom and the direction to continue on this podcast, because this is not going to be in vain. People are going to listen and be encouraged.
Amen. And for those who are listening, the people who started the aeroplane, the Wright brothers, the guy who invented Coca-Cola by mistake. There's so many examples we can give that show that we should not use limitations as our guiding force. You need to move into this world as a woman knowing that anything is possible. If no one has done it, you can be the first person to do it. We wouldn't be flying if these guys had believed that flying is not a thing. Like no one had ever heard of the word flying, but guess what? They did it. Nothing is impossible. People used to say the sky is the limit. It's no longer the limit right now. People are going in space every day. So the world is our oyster. God has given us the power to procreate with him, and that means we have everything in us to do bigger things, so many
Yes.
things. So
Yes.
let's go out there and live transformed lives. And yeah, until next time,
Amen.
I'll bring you more episodes with different
Okay.
women from all over the world. Thank you so much,
Okay.
Mary.
Thank you.
Yes. Please help me spread the word by sharing our episodes with your friends, family, and followers. Let's amplify the voices of women, break barriers, challenge stereotypes, and create a network of support and empowerment. Together, we can bring about positive change and make this world a better place for all. This is SheCentre, the female podcast, where women's stories matter. I love you all. God bless.